talking about server owning for DayZ itself. Is it rewarding or is it punishing? Are there aspects to hosting a server, being a server owner, that people want to do it again? Or is it like I tried it once, I'm done, I gave it the college try, we're over it? But I did ask around our community, folks, and the question I proposed to our community was, what input and stories can you share as a server owner to help us better understand your trials, whether they be accomplishments or failures? And would you do it different again if you could? So on our Twitter, we were able to get one response from the myth, the legend, the person himself, Minder. Runs the Karma Crew servers that we actually did our live stream on, and it was actually really nice to see him reach out and actually answer our question on Twitter. Minder says this about server owning and his overall opinion. Understanding the needs and wants of the player base can be very difficult. That's why it's important, in my honest opinion, to stick to your personal design choices for your server. Some people will like it and play it, others will move on. Server owners should listen to the community, but don't parrot. Now, I had to look up what he meant by parrot because words sometimes elude me on their meaning. What he means by parrot is, by definition, when people use it in this way, it doesn't mean just an animal. It means to follow or to speak the actions or words of others. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I got a little bit of a vocabulary lesson from him at the same time as his feedback. From a player perspective, or that they're providing enough of an experience for us. Jarl, what do you think about as a player? Do most server owners kind of meet the itch you got?
They do, and I will say that's thanks in part to the modding community, because I love DayZ. I have a lot of hours in it, not necessarily standalone, but I just played nothing but DayZ on Arma 2 for a long time. And one of the things I look for in a server is, what do they have to shake up the vanilla experience? Because I love the vanilla experience, but I don't get the same interactions out of people on vanilla servers that I do on modded. I really do appreciate the server owners that have very clear rules listed, have the mods, and if it's something that I really think I want to bring my community to while I'm streaming, I'll even join the Discord and ask around. I always say, hey, what are you guys' thoughts of having a streamer on the server? How's everybody's, personality? Are there any issues with the server? And I'll just have a discussion, not necessarily with the server owner, but with them and the community. And one of the things I look for sure is whether or not a server owner has a good reputation with players.
And then we also got a comment from a person who runs the DayZ Down Under servers over in Australia, or one of the main admins, DayZ. And he said this is his response, kind of in bullet points, but I'm going to read it anyway. DayZ players are either herbivores or carnivores. You need a healthy population of survivalist herbivores to sustain the carnivores. Pretty much saying you need a balance between PvPers and PvE, survivalists and stuff like that. Don't spend too much time on quality of life fixes. Players don't notice when things work, and Bohemia will fix those things eventually. Having a mature team that you trust 100% is key. If in a game admin decides to show off, it can be disastrous to the image of your entire community. Avoid the common meta. Be unique and stand out from the crowd by doing things differently. Just because something is popular doesn't make it good. I've had the best results when I stuck to my guns and implemented my vision better than implementing the wishes of the loudest complainers. This actually goes to something I always say. The minority doesn't always speak for the majority on most servers. A major part of your player base are quiet players. It means they usually don't participate in Discord or anything else. There was a large portion of my server back in the day who never even joined our Discord, mainly because of the drama the small player groups that once thought they had a voice caused. So these are all really interesting points.
And I also go through a year or two of testing before I fork over the money, because one thing people don't realize for server owners is if you don't host a server there at the place of where you live. You're going to want a remote server or something like that. I don't have a secondary computer that can do it. So obviously when my server goes live for the community, I'll be renting a server. That costs money. And then you want to get people into the server from your community. If you're making a public server, you've got marketing expenses and things like that. You got to pay for those banners, the logos, and you have to just know what you're getting into before you get into it, because being able to plan for that stuff will actually help you run a more stable community for the people who join.
Red, do you have anything else you would like to add to all of this shenanigans about server owning and running and stuff?
Yeah, definitely look at that. And the costs, like you said, you can get a fairly simple server on like GTX or something for maybe $15-20 a month. I think starter dedicated hosts, that's what I'm running, is about $150 a month. And you can run a couple servers on there, and then they go up from there. As to, I know some of the bigger server farms that are, running 100-person servers, they're paying like $5,000 a month for their server fleet. So it can get pretty expensive. So always take that in mind. And is this just a hobby that I'm spending money on? Do I actually want to try to make it at least a break even with donations or whatever else, and then how, walking the fine line around that. So,
and it's really, good to hear about them. However, we did get one that came in right at the last hot second, I think literally an hour before. And this is from a former player from New Dawn himself, called Shinka. He runs the Wild Path servers, and this is his input. When we started Wild Path, we didn't know a lot about the backend processes that run the server, but we did have a really clear idea in mind of what we wanted our server to be. A lot of what we learned has been through talking to other server owners and modders in the DayZ community, as the official tutorials and walkthroughs presented by BI were lacking. We were lucky enough to know someone prior to starting a server. We were New Dawn players for a few years beforehand, and they have really helped us get off to a great start and answer my questions we have had along the way, sharing a lot of ideas, concepts we have not fully thought through. It takes a lot of work to put it together, but sometimes just feels different when you load into a DayZ server and it's yours. I feel it has been well worth it, especially when we get feedback from our players and saying how much they love the feel of the server and enjoy spending time here. My advice to anyone who is thinking about starting a server is to have an idea of what type of server you want in mind and to stick to it. Don't be afraid to ask for help from those who have already been in the community. Everyone is welcoming and happy to help newcomers. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have started this project sooner. Let's go ahead and talk about what does it feel like being a server owner, looking out onto the community and the player base, and why? What do you feel these things? We're going to talk about basic things like ticket systems, Discord, moderating, staff balancing, you name it. Because if your players don't feel like they're being heard, they cause a lot of problems for you.
Yeah, they don't just leave.
About that.
When my first server I ever ran, I didn't have a moderation staff. I didn't have a server owner team. So when things happen bad in a server at, 5 in the morning and I was sleeping, you go back at 9 in the morning like, oh, I can't wait to see who's on the server today. Complaints all down the board. You have to fix the server. So I go in and I immediately fix the server. And then there's just people are like, can you give me back this? Because the server turned into a madhouse and started burning everything down. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah. And then, then we talked about admin abuse. And you have to, like Jarl said, if it's not just you, you have to properly hand out powers. And if people see your admins abusing, oh my gosh, you will literally rule the day that you were born if that happens. And it may not even be true admin abuse. It may have been they accidentally saw your admin handling a proper ticket and helping someone who properly needed help, and they thought it was admin abuse because guess what? Speculation and observation can really miscue facts. And, some of these things could be problematic for server owners. They can really make owning and running a server very difficult. Like Earl said, you wake up first thing in the morning, there's a shitfest on your Discord, and you have to read through all of it, because if you skim it and you miss some vital information, you look like you're playing favorites, and that's just not fun. But there are positives to running a server, and I would have to say that most days it was waking up and seeing people playing on the server, people enjoying the server, right? Like, seeing the stories, people talking about what they want to do, even people talking about possible scenarios they can do with the fun mods that you've cultivated or made from scratch for them. There are so many cool things that can happen on a server if you run it properly that can make running a server, while yes, sometimes a nightmare, also kind of a dream.